Yo, what is up, you guys? So, in this video, I'm going to give you guys a quick overview and first impressions of this new synth by Xfer, Serum. So, what's really cool about it is that you can kind of craft and draw in your own wavetables and save those and import them, and it seems to be really easy to use. It looks very complex and a little bit cluttered when you first look at it, but that's just because it's new and you've never seen it before. But, this is my second time using the synth, so I opened the synth up 20 minutes ago for the first time, and I used up the first 20 minutes of demo to kind of figure out how it works and things like that. And so now I'm going to record as I'm using it for the second time, so the next 20 minutes or so, just kind of showing you where things are and what I like about it. So, as you can see, I have the demo version. I haven't bought it yet because, I don't know what it is, so I'm going to demo it first. So I recommend you guys to check out the demo before you decide whether you buy it or not, and maybe watch additional YouTube videos on it too. I probably will check out some YouTube videos myself, but I like trying things out first, so let's try it out. So first off, when you first get into this window, it looks colored, and it looks colorless and a bit boring, and looks it looks complicated, but it's very easy. So we have our basic two oscillators. So we have oscillator 1 and 2, which never moves from here. This window doesn't change. So we can go FX, and this is our page thing. So we go from our oscillators and LFOs and filter section to FX, where we get to only see that stuff in the top half, and then the matrix in the top half, and then the global in the top half. But you always see your modulation throughout all of that stuff. So basically, it stays very simple, and most of the time you'll probably be in this view anyway. So we have the two oscillators, then two additional oscillators, the sub oscillator and the noise generator, or if you want to call it noise oscillator, it doesn't really matter. So the noise generator is pretty cool, actually. There's a lot of cool stuff in here, and we can see things like attack for kicks. So having a noise generator that has attacks for kicks, and then you have a sub oscillator, I'm guessing that you can make some pretty kick-ass kicks inside of this. So I'll probably save that for another tutorial once I own this synth. I'll probably show you how to make kick drums inside of this, since basically I see everything you need to do it. But you can make kicks in most synths anyway, so even without this stuff. So we basically have four oscillators, but two main oscillators, and then we have the filter section. So the filters section, we basically just have one filter for our oscillators. So the way it works is we're able to route everything just very simply by clicking on it right here. So if it's blue lit, that means it's going to the filter. So this is the sub, the noise, and oscillator B. So, and then we have key tracking right here for the filter section. So right here, I'll just play this. Not going to the filter section. Now if I click on it, it's going through the filter. Now I do believe that the effects go after the filter section, and then you can apply a second filter with all the same controls and all that. So we have all the same type of filtering and basic parameters to control that there. So in a weird way, we do have two filters, but they follow in a serial order. So I'm guessing it's oscillators, filters, then FX, then the other filter, and then that's kind of how it goes. I'm guessing. I haven't had enough time to really kind of test that out. But anyway, so it's very easy to route any of the oscillators and the key tracking through the filter. And then we have a lot of options for filtering as well, so it's pretty well equipped, for whatever you need it for. So, and it gives you a lot of cool options. And I gotta say though that I like how for everything you do in most windows you have a good visual representation of what you're doing. So if we start detuning a little bit, or if we change the wavetable position, you get pretty good idea of what you're doing. So let's set this to maybe a digital something. Now if we move the wavetable, you can see it's moving it down a bit, or the position of it. And we can add phase, so we can see where it's going to start instead. Randomize, you can see how that does that. the pan, well, you can't see what it's doing there, but for most things you get a good visual representation of what you're doing. So I do like that when you click on it, you either go from the typical just what's it called, an oscilloscope, oscillator scope. How do I not know that word? But it's basically you go from that kind of view, an oscillator scope kind of view, to a full like spectrum kind of razorish look. I don't know what this kind of view is called. Like I'm forgetting all my terminology today, but it's okay. We don't need to be so exact. So we can also assign this to other things like let's see, like FM sub oscillator. So we can add that kind of stuff in, or we can throw a mirror in here. So if we go back to this view, you see how that works. And if we go back to maybe bend minus plus, you can see how that works. If we go to flip, it basically is kind of like a little face sort of thing. And we go back to the FM. We can't see how it's adding to it, maybe in this view. Hold on, I'm trying to see if I can get that to move. I'm not sure how to make this move. I saw it moving in other things, but let's see. Let's go back to filters. Damn it, I really want to figure that out. Oh, and by the way, so we have the basic octaves up here, so we can move it up 4 octaves or down 4 octaves. So that's there, as well as the semi and the fine tuning and all that other stuff. So, you know, once you know where things are, it becomes a lot easier and easier to use. I really don't know why it's not moving. I saw this thing moving earlier, but it's okay. So let's go to the filters again. So let's just select something like a comb. And another thing I like is how you're able to kind of have a similar modulation as you do to massive. So you know, you can drag the mod envelope to any of these parameters, or you can drag out the LFOs and the envelopes and all that. So if we grab envelope 2, we could just drop it on the cutoff, and then we can by selecting this little blue stuff right here, we can adjust the amount. So it's very similar to massive's modulation. But the cool thing about this is, you know how in massive you're limited to 3 little spaces to add things? To here it seems unlimited, so I could add all of these things to the same parameter. I think mod and envelope 1 are attached to each other. Also, envelope 1 is your main envelope, so this controls everything. So for the most part, you're going to want to leave this nice and open, unless you're doing some kind of other type of thing where you need to have your overall envelope a little bit closed. But you can attach as much modulation as you want, it seems. So what I like about it is it's not cluttered. So the way it allows you to do that is not by giving you visual space. You know, it's not showing me like 15 blue rings around this. And look, if you leave the mouse over the parameter, you can see everything that's assigned to it, so that's pretty cool as well. And so why I like this is because it's not cluttered with the modulations you add. So if I want to see everything, all the parameters I've added, LFO 1, 2, I just click on LFO 1 and I see that I've added to nothing. Now if I add it to certain things or whatever, just like that, now I see all these blue little circles, and now I can adjust each of those. So the only way I can tweak any of these is by actually being clicked on LFO 1 to adjust where I've dropped that on. So I'm not going to accidentally click on these parameters and change them. You know, it's not even possible. So you have to always be clicked over this little circle. So it's not like you're going to accidentally click on something and ruin the modulation you set up. That's happened to me a few times in Massive, but it's not a big deal either. So now if I want to see everything that has envelope 3 on it, I just click on envelope 3. Now I can go edit those. Now if I want to do that to envelope 1 and such. So you get the idea. It keeps the modulation pretty clean, and if you want to figure out what's on it, you just leave the mouse over it. So it keeps things a lot cleaner and allows you more options by not visually restricting it to the way that Massive does, where you only have 3 rings that you can put around something and then you have to figure it out. So I like that. And the LFO section is typical. You know, a trigger is basically to restart the LFO at the same, you know, from the beginning every time. Envelope is, let's see, what was envelope again? I don't remember. So envelope restarts the LFO. LFO plays once like an envelope unless you command shift click, blah blah blah. Okay, so it's kind of like you can get like a loop playback sort of things, but for the most part I'm going to leave it on trigger, typically because that's what I do with LFOs. And then you have cool stuff like rise and things like that, so it can it will do that kind of stuff depending on if the retrig is on, I believe, right? I don't know. And then of course we can turn off BPM to kind of get a more custom rate. And then we have basic stuff like velocity and note and things like that. And then we have voicing, which is kind of down here, which is odd because I was looking for it for a long time, you know, like 20 minutes ago. I was expecting it to be somewhere up here, maybe in global, and I looked everywhere and I was like, fuck, where's the voicing, for the love of God? And it fucking was right here. So it's a weird place to place it, but you know, now that I know it's there, it's not a big deal. You know, it's in one of the corners, so you know. So here's your voicing. You have mono, and then you have legato. So the cool thing is you could have polyphonic legato or mono legato engaged or whatever. So I like that it's not a mono legato button and that's it. So you have the option of using legato even with polyphonic. So I like that. And we go up to 32 voices on this, which is very nice, as opposed to just being limited to 16. So it's pretty cool there. And let's see, so then we have typical portamento time and, you know, the glide, and we can add curves to that. So so it's pretty cool there. And then we have, you know, the basic bend range and the pitch bend and all that stuff. So I don't know if I mentioned this, but I noticed that there is also these macros. Just like in Massive, you're able to have macros that you can just drag and drop so that you can assign these to a keyboard and then just use these macros to control a bunch of shit. So if we drop the macro onto something like detune, now we can use that there. And so that's basically all that, what's going on in this window. So the filters are pretty easy to use. The oscillators are fun, and yeah, the drawing stuff, I still gotta figure this out a little bit better, but once I really figured this out, I don't think I'm gonna be able to figure this out in 20 minutes. But I did realize that it's a lot more apprehensive than Absinth's Wave Shaper. Well, Absinthe has a thing that you can draw in your own waves and save them as well. So this kind of thing isn't exactly new, but I feel like with Xfer'S attention to details and the way they like to give a lot of precision controls, I don't know why I can't say that right now. Like they give you a lot of control, so I feel like this is going to be something different, but yeah, it's going to do something, you know, it's going to change the way that people kind of use this kind of stuff. You have these waves here that you can kind of select and use and blah blah blah, and then you can also make this overall bigger and smaller and blah 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 and draw it here. So I'm pretty impressed by how many bins there are. There's like 500 and so bins to use in here, so you can get you can just go nuts with this, and then you can come in here and draw with this. It's just nuts. And then there's just so many commands. Right now this is over my head. I don't even want to start trying to figuring this out, not yet. So I'll get to that later. So the wave shaping is pretty cool. So basically, once you look at it, it's laid out very simply, and you know, you know, the problem with this kind of stuff sometimes is that it's not very obvious to new people. So new people wouldn't know that envelope 1 is your main envelope, but that's kind of the way it is in a lot of synths. So it's not always made obvious. So envelope 1 is your main envelope for everything. The filters, you know, the way you route it, you know, it's very simple to figure out for most people. And then, you know, dragging modulation to each of these things is very cool. And I don't know if I mentioned this, but if I have something on, if I create an envelope here with envelope 2, so let's just create this, drop it onto something, it doesn't really matter what. If I go back to envelope 1, I can now see envelope 2 back here. So, you know, that's pretty cool. I like that. So I can see envelope 2 when I'm looking at envelope 1. You can see the wave right there. So we can see how it works and how it moves. It's really cool stuff. And let's see. So let's go to the FX window, because the FX window is pretty neat as well. So right here we have basically like a rack layout, a rack unit layout. So kind of similar to Reason or Guitar Rig or things like that. I kind of like it a lot. I kind of like this kind of stuff. The kind of rack space thing. If you look in the corner of my room, maybe it's too dark. I have a big, like 20 unit rack space that's now empty because I sold all that stuff. So I kind of miss this kind of stuff. You know, being able to just reach over and, you know, twist knobs and things for effects and compression and things like that. I won't get too much into the effects. You know, they all sound good to me, and the most impressive thing to me so far from this was the compressor. Because you guys know I'm a big fan of Xfer'S OTT multiband compressor, which is a emulation of the OTT setting of the Ableton multiband compressor. But what OTT stands for is over the top. So the over the top multiband compression is really fucking cool. I really like this feature in here. So this is probably my favorite thing about the effects. If you turn on the multiband, it seems to be like an over-the-top compression setting. I can't say that it is or isn't for sure, but I'm guessing since it's Xfer, I would think that they would use that kind of thing. So you can see the gain reduction and all that, but if you really start playing with the threshold, you can kind of get the feeling of an over-the-top setting. Let's try a preset, actually. Let's go. Some random thing. The thing about this is once you have all these everything on, you do have to scroll for a bit. At least it's color coordinated, so if I'm looking for a compressor, I just have to really look for this color. So it's not a big deal. It just takes some getting used to scrolling through all this. I don't know if this plugin is CPU heavy or not. I would guess that it is fairly CPU heavy, but not too crazy. So we can kind of get the feeling that this is kind of over the top, because look at how much you can do with the threshold. You can go so far low with this and so far high. So that's pretty cool, actually. So yeah, I do like this. I wish I could play around more with some of this and show you guys, but I do want to make the video kind of short since it is just a first impressions overview sort of thing. So I'm just kind of showing you where things are. The Matrix is kind of similar to Albino or Spire or things like that, or Morphix, or I guess even Absinthe, where it's basically you can come in here and, you know, assign to the source things, and then you can set the destination, play with the mount, even add curves to this. So if this is a macro, so for macro 4, I can you see that this is already assigned to something. We can change the curve of that, and the way the mount now changes, or when you turn this knob, is as you look over this, you can see how it kind of curves and turns to the macro 4. Wow, all of these are assigned to macro 4. That's pretty cool. So I think that's pretty neat. So the Matrix is awesome, but I don't think a lot of people like using matrices. That kind of way of routing is kind of far behind a lot of people nowadays. Now people just kind of like the simplicity of dragging a crosshair onto a parameter and, you know, adjusting it like so. So I'm sure most people, that's how they're going to do their modulations and all that, but there's still a lot of use for matrices. And then the globals, nothing too important so far. So I like the synth. My impression of it, that it's really well designed and it sounds great and has a lot of cool presets. I'm just about done with the 20 minutes, so that's right on time because I'm kind of wrapping this up. So my impression is that it's really awesome, but I don't know if it's going to be the kind of thing that I use all the time or if it's going to be crucial to my arsenal of plugins I like to use. At the end of the day, we all love plugins like Spire and Anna and Cyclops and Razor and all those, but it's not stuff we use all the time. I'm speaking for myself at least right now. Because the go-to thing for me is mostly Silent and Massive, just because I've made so many presets and banks for those synths over the years, just because they're really easy to use. And as you get into more complex synths like Cyclops, which I rarely use, you kind of, it's not that I don't have a lot of presets I made for it or anything like that. It's just that there are certain synths that you save presets for because they're easy to use and you keep going back to those. And then there are other synths that every time you use it, you don't really care about saving a preset. You're just in there to make something cool. So Cyclops, every time I use it, it's because I want to make something cool that I could really only make in Cyclops. Or in Razor. Razor is not a synth I save presets for most of the time. Every time I open up Razor, it's to make something new. And that's kind of the way I like to use it. So I never really care to save a preset because I know it's a go-to make something new kind of synth. So the way I see synths is typically like my go-to synths that I have a lot of presets for already that I've made, and then my go-to sound design synths where I just want to make something new. So I don't know where this falls in between those. I feel like as much as I like Spire and Anna, those are just really kind of the synths I use when I just can't find what I'm looking for inside of Massive or in Silent. Now, but I do use them a lot, and they're actually becoming regular, so maybe with time that will happen with this. I do think that people will like this at first, but I don't know how often you'll be seeing people using this. It's a very easy synth to use, so I don't think that'll be a problem, and it doesn't have a complex layout. It sounds great. I just don't know. I mean, some people really like to stick to their old stuff, but if you're looking for something new, something to fill a big gap in your library and you're really just sick of the old stuff, then this is perfect for you. I'm gonna probably buy this sooner or later. I did like it a lot. I'm gonna play with the demo some more and maybe make some kicks with it and try out all this different stuff. So thanks guys for watching. My review is positive. I do think it's a cool synth that you should demo and check out. So thanks guys for watching, and lates.